Today I'm going to be learning how to make skyscrapers in Minecraft. I'm currently on a creative mode version of the Hermitcraft seed. This is my plan for this Hermitcraft season. I realized as I was approaching this project, I've never really built a skyscraper in Minecraft before, and when I think of Minecraft skyscrapers, they tend to look very 2012 in my brain. Like just gigantic grids with a bunch of glass, no interiors. And I absolutely want to try my best to avoid that. So it's time to start with phase 1. Research. Ghost in the Shell always has some absolute bangers in it. The skyline of Zootopia is crazy. That's so cool. Oh, there's lots of beautiful images here. Ghost in the Shell, again, looking beautiful. Isle of Dogs, sensational. Of course, Love, Death and Robots. And basically any work by Alberto Mielgo, which really good. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm feeling inspired. So now it's time for some Minecraft inspiration. And I will look no further than Hermitcraft Season 10. Joel's City is absolutely outrageous. But I especially like what B-Dubs and Impulse did in this area here. Ah, this is perfect. This is it. It is also unbelievably laggy. Oh my goodness. Are we shooting on film? Do these frames cost money? My game's not lagging, it's just cinematic. 24 frames a second is the connoisseur's frame rate. This is lovely, isn't it? This is actually really, really nice. Oh, the banners. Stains, the bus stop. Also, Moloko Craft, one of my favorite build follows on Instagram. This is perfect. I think it's time to start building. This is the area that we have to fill. And one thing that I learned from building the power station here is that blocking things out and adding sort of the main shape first really, really helps. I might actually steal this. Then I think down at the bottom here, this bottom section should be almost like surface level orientated. So something like a store, and that should fill out the full footprint of the build. Maybe in cut just here. Then I think we take another detail section going up like this. Perhaps this could feel like a stairway. Like, yeah, if I actually imagine how this building functions, elevator shaft. So this is the elevator shaft, and then this is like an emergency stairway. Okay, I am going to try something pretty wild here. I kind of like the idea of like a completely different block palette. So I'm going to go for bricks. I'm also going to swap out all of the stone for this sort of gradient, the one that I've got over here on the power station. I'm also going to add in lines into it and then cover all of it in the grey stained glass. That does look really cool. That looks really, really cool. Here's the thing. I'm only going to be designing a handful of skyscrapers today, but I can't help but think of the entire city, and I'm going to try my best to kind of keep in mind the luminance. I want the smaller ones to be slightly darker, as if they're in shadow, medium ones to be in the medium luminance, and then these ones to be brighter. I've just logged onto the real Hermitcraft server here, and this is what the project is currently looking like. Now, the thing that I'm trying to also be aware of is not having too much crossover with the block palettes of the front 3 skyscrapers with this town edge here. I want to try my best to keep them visually distinct, which will be tricky because obviously this is nuts looking. It looks crazy, but I think it's possible. You know what? I'm doing it. I think mud. This one should look really run down. Then I think in all of the gaps, it's going to be dark prismarine with the grey stained glass on the outside. I think that kind of takes the edge off a little bit. I think the dark prismarine was a little bit too saturated. Maybe this works. What if I then add this in, almost like as a balcony edge? Ooh, okay. Okay, wow, they match up tonally so well. Do I also make this build 5 times more expensive and put them on the bottom too? Is that too much? It could be too much. The buttons, though. The buttons look pretty good from a distance, as does this little detail that I've been adding, which just gives a tiny edge to the build. Let's get this other gradient sorted. Did I prefer it when it was stone? I really do think I did, but I'm going to try this out too. I think that's a little bit too textureless. So let's go with light grey concrete and light grey wool. I do like that. I think once we add some lines, a bit like what, in fact, exactly like what I've got going on over here. Oh, Does it look too much like what I've got going on over here? I think it does. Is there anything that kind of matches up with acacia logs? I love this color. I think it goes really well with the build. Maybe pale oak log? Yes, I think that works. Smoothing the transition. Obviously, I am going to smooth these transitions, but this requires a really smooth transition. Has gone pretty well. And I think, yeah, from back here, especially, that looks quite cool. Now, I'm going to finish off this top section, I think, by just having a balcony up there. Remove all of these acacia blocks. Then I think this elevator shaft should come up a little bit further along, so it's a bit like that. Okay, I think one block too big currently. That should stop it looking quite so top heavy. Nice. Okay, yeah. Off to this side, I think we just have a full height brick situation. I'm not entirely sure what a brick situation is either, but it works. I'm not gonna lie, it did look a little bit strange, so I think I am going to try putting the floors back in. Gosh, it still looks strange. I wonder, I don't really want to put the balconies in. I wonder, just doing something like that, does that help? Oh, I think so. Little details are going in. Buttons underneath look great, especially when you're standing down at floor level. I'm now working on this slightly more unloved wall here. I feel like one thing about a lot of these shorter high-rises is that there's always like one unloved wall. It's realistic for there to be like a functional wall, the one with all the guttering and things on it. So actually, I'm honoring that currently, and I think it looks pretty cool. Does it also make sense for me to be placing in like a fire escape? Wait, is this about to become my favorite feature of this build? Like, is this seriously about to become my favorite feature? I'm having a little bit too much fun with this. Look, my ladders, they're offset, so if you were to fall down them, you wouldn't fall down the entire bunch. Oh, and you can also go up. Access to the roof. Access to the roof. Let's be real. It looks a little bit weird, but it looks like something, and it looking like something is enough for me. This is undeniably the back of the build, but I think I can still do something cool with this area. I reckon just a handful of balconies. Yeah, kind of cool. Gives a little detail on the edge. Then I think the backside, maybe we just have almost like something that looks like an advertisement here. Oh gosh, I don't know about that. Okay, this could definitely be better. But there's a thought there. I don't know what I prefer. I mean, I think this is less offensive. We have got the beginnings of a pretty good skyscraper here. I think the last piece of the puzzle here is just adding some bits and bobs up on the roof, messing up the gradients a little bit, adding a tiny bit of variety into this area with the most subtle gradient ever. And now I think our top section is all finished, and considering how crazy the block palette is, I think it's worked out really, really well. I like it. I think it's interesting. I like the fact that it has a back. I like this nonsense wall. And I think I'm actually going to carry this basically all the way down to the bottom, except I want there to be an obvious sort of rear of this building. This can do it. And out the back here, we're just going to have a bunch of bins, old boxes and bits and bobs like that. Now listen, I know I said that I didn't want to use any bone blocks here, but I feel like they're important in this section. I think down here we can have a tiny little corner shop. I honestly don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm definitely getting caught up in the details here, but I do think that it's kind of working. Definitely something. I think what's cool about this is that it definitely acknowledges that there is a definite back to the build. Like, there is a side that you're not supposed to see, and that's kind of the point. Like, the people who use the building also know that. It's those sorts of thoughts that help things feel alive. Right, we've got this final gap to do here, which I suppose should be the entrance to the building. Can I finally make use of dark prismarine in this build? Does it look weird? Not really. I think with a little bit of grey stained glass just to take the edge off and to bring the side out a little bit. Oh wait, I totally put it way too far back. I was confused as to why it looks so tiny. Right, that's better. This is better. Does it look good? It's kind of from a distance. It looks really cool and definitely does denote a change. I think I'm going to go for the deep slate tiles for this one. Then more of the dark prismarine. Gosh, I am really struggling with this. I think it's because I imagine there'd be some kind of sign on the front here. I don't know about this. I mean, I think it kind of is interesting. I mean, this place is meant to be pretty run down, so maybe just having some boxes outside, maybe a little bit of rubbish. I honestly think it was the symmetricalness that was doing it for me, because I much prefer that. I think also making it look like the entire area is almost covered in little promotional posters and things. Yeah. Okay. I think we have got our first skyscraper. It looks cool up close. It looks cool from a distance. I think it's busy, but not too detailed. Yeah, that's gone well. Now let's see if I can do it again. I may end up regretting this, but I actually kind of like the mangrovey ready burgundy, and I know for a fact I haven't used any of that in the city walls, so I'm going to give it a shot. This is a block palette that I am so unfamiliar with. Gosh, nether bricks really are some of the darkest blocks in the game, aren't they? That is crazy. I think I'm going to walk that back, but I am going to be sticking with the red. Instead, though, I think I'm going to have a tough bottom, and then something like this, and we can go all the way up to red terracotta. Honestly, kind of cool. Kind of cool so far. So I've been looking back on my Loco Crafts Instagram account, and I really like this layout here. I don't know if it will work for my block palette, but I like it. Oh, hey, would you look at that? I liked it 37 weeks ago. I'm just not sure I have access to enough blocks in the block palette to make this work. That being said, though, I think the thing that I'm struggling with is I don't have anything that bridges this gap. The gap between the burgundy and the toughy textures. Ooh, but what if I went for granite? Oh, I actually think that's working better. Oh, I think that's actually working much better. Ah, yes, the copper trapdoors strike again. That is interesting, because they look so different. They look so different here to how they look here. Here they look quite reddy and quite pinky, whereas over here, way more brown. Now, I'm just going to clone this up a little bit. And this is what we've currently got. Yeah, I mean, I think we can work with it. From afar, it's definitely kind of working. I'm not sure definitely kind of is grammatically correct, but I don't mind. It honestly feels like I've forgotten how to build. I think the problem is the two of them are too close together in height. Oh, I felt too confident. After doing this one. I thought I would give myself the hardest block palette of all time. I think I'm getting somewhere. I thought I would add in some extra side action, and I don't hate it. I actually don't hate it. This is going to seem odd, but I feel like having a big sign on top of this will help my situation. I kind of feel like H stands for Hermitcraft, maybe with some lights surrounding it as well. Well, what have we ended up with here? This might be cheating, but just connecting them up with wires, I feel like this will make them feel more cohesive. And yeah, I'm not wrong. I am not wrong. I would say I'm satisfied. I like the way this build has come together. I actually do think it looks pretty cool, but I have battled with this block palette for long enough. And in the interest of staying inspired, I want to move on to another skyscraper. Okay, I couldn't help myself. I decided to quickly experiment with different things behind the glass, and actually dried kelp looks pretty cool, as does mud. And now that I have all of the doors in, I mean, it's probably a little bit too much, but I still think it works. Adding a gap also sort of works. I'm learning. Many snacks have been acquired. Now it is time to start work on the third skyscraper, and that is going to be this one out the back here. Now for this one, I want to try my best to not have too much repeating action. I want to have a little bit more variety in the modules. I want to have different layers to the build, and I'm going to do something really weird here, which is start from the top. I quite like the idea of almost having like a floating module. So it like floats up here, and then it's got two sort of prongs going through it, holding it up, but there will be an airspace underneath it. Now, the block palette for this one is going to be various shades of grey. Incredibly exciting. After battling with the reds of this module, I want to come back to something that's a little bit more manageable, a tiny bit more friendly. This is feeling very, very strange currently, and it is looking extremely monolithic. Very, very monolithic currently. And then these two here, these are going to be the posts that are holding the build up. I mean, is that going to look super weird? It kind of will look super weird, but I think in a cool way. Okay, I just looked over at my other monitor and I noticed I've had Moloko.mc's account open on my second screen. And I definitely feel like this and this is definitely soaked into my brain for the top of the build, but this has made me realize I would actually like to add some off-centerness. My goodness, things are at extreme risk of going old school Mumbo here. I decided to remove the gigantic cantilever because it looked extremely strange from down at my viewpoint, and everybody knows that my viewpoint is incredibly important to me. I'm really not sure I like these, so I think I'm going to switch them out for something that looks a little bit like this. Things are getting interesting. Things are getting weird. I'm kind of playing around with different things. I will say I think I'm slightly losing sight of what a skyscraper is, but this is all experimental stuff. I'm learning. I need to find where the limits are, go a little bit past them, and then work my way back to a place that looks good. This is jazz. I have spent an awfully long time on this. You can see I've put a lot of work into various different types of staining and all sorts of different stuff. This is a little bit more futuristic looking than the other ones, but I think it fits in quite nicely with the universe that we've created. But I would say this is the limit of how futuristic I would like to go. I am trying my best to break up some of these big slabs, though, to limited success. With that being said, when I view it as a skyline, it is interesting. Like, it does look really cool. But I do worry, after 6 hours of head scratching, I think conceptually, I just don't like this shape. It does look interesting. It does look cool, but I don't think it's something I want in my Hermitcraft base. Lessons have been learned. What an interesting couple of days. My brain is frazzled. Creatively, I am spent. This has been a completely different way of approaching building and thinking about things. It's been insanely interesting. I absolutely love this. 100% I'm going to be building this on the Hermitcraft server. I think with some tweaks. Also, this is going in, and I think a lot of the ideas in this are really interesting. I'm just not sure. I think the foundations were flawed from the get-go, but that right there is the creative process. I hope that you've enjoyed being taken along for the ride, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya!